Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, Vincent LaRusso and I are going to be discussing today's announcement from Kiss about the final shows of the End of the Road tour. There's so much to talk about in this episode, lots of emotions, lots of thoughts. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this, so let's jump in and let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I'm here with my buddy, dressed appropriately for the occasion. How you doing, comrade? Say? I think it says what?
Live in New York City, end of the road. This shirt is now worth 3 cents, by the way.
Oh man, it's funny that you say that, and obviously we're going to talk about the announcement today.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain, my friend.
No, I'm going to do the Sid Vicious version.
Oh, okay.
So you have
I like how you. Yeah, I like how you knew what song it was.
Oh, of course,
yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that shirt, and obviously we're going to talk about the announcent today from Kiss.
What about my singing performance of Sinatra?
Oh, that who cares about that? Oh, damn. It's going to be one of those shows, people. It's going to be one of those shows.
All right.
Oh man, I feel your toe level is up a bit this morning.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely though. I'm like, it's like sentimental though. It's a sentimental though.
Not Sentimental Street?
No, it's sentimental though.
Okay. Yeah. We'll ask Jack Blades maybe if they could re-record that song.
I'm sure he'll get right on that.
Yeah. Oh man. But you mentioned this shirt, and one of the first things I thought of when I heard the announcement this morning is I have that Madison Square Garden poster from 2019 that's highly collectible, and I'm like, well, that just probably decreased in value 50% in one day, but whatever. Yeah. Who cares about that nonsense? Obviously, this was, I'll say, the worst kept secret. Howard Stern kind of announced last week that Kiss was going to be on today. Everybody kind of knew that this was going to be the announcement of the final shows of the End of the Road tour. And in case anybody hasn't heard it yet, and Kiss was actually still on. As we got on here, they were still on. It's been going on for about an hour and a half now. They're with Howard Stern. And they were officially announcing the final shows of the End of the Road tour. The final 2 shows taking place Madison Square Garden, December 1st, December 2nd. So I think, to me, the Garden was no surprise. I don't think it was a surprise for you as well, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, I think maybe more fans were hoping for like a over the summer Citi Field type of thing, just for capacity, because, well, I mean, they're doing 2 shows at about 20,000 seats per show. That's 40,000 people. Technically, that's if you don't go twice. But let's face facts. Most people are going to want to go to the last one. Right. But that's kind of another, we could get into that, being that it's 2 shows, makes it a little messy in my opinion.
A little Friday and a Saturday night.
Yeah.
There's nothing messy about that to me. I'll be at both shows.
Well, I mean, okay, let me not say messy is not the right word. It kind of like everyone's going to want to go to the last one. So, are you going to compromise and go to the second to last one and get that same feeling? Right. Last show is last show. Right. Second to last show is not last show.
That is true. And I'm sure, look, there'll be the diehard fans like you and I and some of the people who watch the show that'll say, I have to be on the last show no matter what. I texted my friend group. Well, my friend group texted me last night saying, hey, do you know that Kiss is going to be on Howard Stern this morning? I'm like, of course I do. Yes. And then so I texted the dates this morning, and one of the women in the group was like, well, I'm not spending $250 for a last show at Kiss at Madison Square Garden. And I was like, you should be thankful if you have to spend $250.
So that'd be a bargain.
Right. So, but my point of bringing up the story is that she's a casual fan. She certainly knows most of the songs she goes. but she has no desire to be at the last show and spend the money. I think what will happen, what I'm hoping happens, is that that final show is really a celebration with all the diehard fans, maybe even from around the world coming in for that show.
And also, if there is going to be some guest appearances, what
Mhm.
happens, second to last show, Ace or Peter, if they're going to, who knows
Right.
how that's going to that's going to work out
Yep.
or not work out. Hopefully work out to some level.
Yep.
Um, so that's gonna be interesting to see how that works itself out.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath for anything there. I know that Kiss and Doc have been open. Hey, the offer's out there. Ace could jump up for encores anytime he wants. There's one
Mm,
thing to make a verbal offer. There's another one to make a contractual offer with money on the table, etc. And in fairness to Ace and Peter, I don't expect that they should do that for nothing. There's going to be huge events, a lot of money at stake. You hate talking about the money part, but the reality is, those guys deserve. I don't know what's fair. That's not for me to decide, but they deserve a paycheck for joining, even if it's only for a couple of songs. Just my opinion.
I agree on you with that because look, we first of all going in, Ace and Peter are about money and getting paid, and you know what, their legacy is deserving of that. Let's be
Agreed.
past. No matter how, if you want to use in the past, they've been. I don't even want to use the word greedy or whatever it is, and I'm not
Whatever it
calling
is,
them that.
the past is the
Whatever it is,
past.
they're right. They've earned, their place in history with this band. They are the part of the two founding members, and they should be compensated as such for such a one-time event.
Agreed. Agreed. And look, there could be plenty of conversations going on behind the scene, and maybe they'll be taken care of more than fairly, maybe not at all. My only point is that I don't want to hear that an offer is out there for them to join us on stage for a couple of songs. I want it to be a legit offer, contractual offer, not
Well,
just a
yeah,
verbal.
but they never say offer in the past. They said they've invited. I don't want to hear
Fair
that's the
point.
better invited.
Yeah, good
Okay,
point. Good
right.
point.
So that's what we're hoping for, is that there's
Agreed.
a real offer, not invitation,
Yes.
invitation slash offer, if you want to say, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it's done in a respectful manner.
Agreed.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Now, saying that, and I hope Ace and Peter are there at least for a few songs, if not the whole show, but at least for a few songs. Um, I'll still have a
Well,
great
that's
time.
going to be an impossibility for them to be there for the whole show.
Of course.
You're talking about rehearsals and whatnot leading up to that. That I can't even see that happening. I don't know the dates leading up to that,
No,
but
they're pretty much full. I think the US Canada dates start October 29th and
yeah.
run straight through December 2nd. Of course, there's a few days in between that are off, but you know, there's really no major time. It's not like they have 2 weeks in between, like the start in Texas on October 29th and the end at the Garden. So
And yeah, and I think most fans will be, with what I'm going to say. I don't care how rehearsed they are for it. They go up and they make a mistake on the drums or who gives a crap? I
I
don't care about
couldn't
that. You
care
know what I mean?
less. Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
I don't care if, Ace starts the wrong song and then they realize and they have to start whatever it is. I mean, that's just
Well,
going to
no,
add to
that
the
only happens at a certain event in last year in Creatures Fest.
oh, yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, but point well taken.
Mm.
I thought it was interesting when it started, and kudos to Howard. They mentioned, Paul mentioned, hey, final shows at the end of the road tour is going to be December 1st, December 2nd, and pretty much out of the gate, Howard was like, "Why should we believe you?
Mm.
Didn't you do this again once before, like 20 years ago?" And I found it interesting, Paul especially, but the band is choosing their words very carefully here. They're saying it's the final shows of the final tour. So I could say with nearly 100% certainty, at least in my own opinion, these are not going to be the final concerts the band ever plays. In fact, for crying out loud, they're supposed to have a cruise next year, and they're going to play the
Well,
Sail Away show.
well, there's your answer right there.
Yep. So with
So
that, yeah, go ahead. You first.
no, I think that's certainly, and you got to weigh this whole thing in, right? I mean, you want to be at the last shows, right? Knowing that there's going to be a cruise the next year, it certainly doesn't have the same, like, oh my God, these guys are never going to be on the stage again performing.
Yep.
It really doesn't. I mean, and now you have to think, well, does that? Look, I want to be at the show, right? You want to be at the last show, no matter
Right.
what. I know a bunch of my Kiss diehard fans have already told me the same, right?
Yep.
It's not going to change whether there's a cruise next year. But I think we have to also think, you know, from that moment that if we are there, and hopefully we are, and rock and roll night ends, and all the confetti, whatever, the sliced pieces of paper
Uh-huh.
come down, and you're walking out of that arena probably with a tear in your eye because it's going to be. I always figure it's going to be highly emotional, but
You
I
think
don't know if it's really going to
tears are
happen.
gonna be falling?
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah.
Uh,
Right. If I had the boo track right now, I go boo.
you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I'm going to just interrupt this for a second. So I've
yeah.
made comments over the last few years that I hate the fact that "Do You Love Me" is in the encore, and that potentially could be Paul Stanley's last song he ever
I remember
sings.
you saying that. Yeah.
It's always irked me. I'm not saying that. I don't think the song should be in the set list, but if it is, it shouldn't be one of the encore songs and the last song Stanley sings on stage with the band. What if it was "Tears Are Falling"?
No, I mean,
Kind of
uh,
symbolizing the whole moment there. I've always said Strutter should be in that spot, but I never thought about it. Last show, last song, Stanley singing, and if it was "Tears Are Falling," there's something very symbolic about that.
yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'm gonna debate you a little bit without
Go ahead.
a definite what I would choose, like Strutter or Detroit Rock City.
Right.
Just because I think, Detroit Rock City obviously has become the more of a concert staple
Yep.
for and more of an anthem for Kiss,
But they're probably going to
you know,
open with that.
right. But I'm saying you're talking about last song that Paul sings.
Right.
What
Yep.
would you choose, right?
Yep.
Strutter, of course, first album, first song. I
Yes.
get that. But
Yep.
what would you want? I mean, I'm curious what the fans would want to hear, and they could comment about that, like
Yeah.
what they think Paul's last song is going to be. Because yeah, I mean, Gene's lucky. He's a lucky man. He's been singing the last song pretty much at every Kiss concert for so
Yep.
many years.
Yep.
And I always found that really interesting, that who's the face of the band, who's really the lead singer, who's really, and it's Gene has been lucky enough to have that anthem, in his
Yep.
voice all these years. And
Yeah.
I always thought about, like, if Paul was secretly on the side, being like, damn it, I wish I was the one to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we know how highly competitive the guys are.
Absolutely. And look, and just for people who are watching this that are diehards, we know that Peter did Black Diamond at the end of some of the shows in the 70s. And I know in the 80s, even there was a time where I think it was Lick It Up was the final show song in the show. But what we're talking about is the overwhelming majority of the shows over a 50-year career either was Gene doing Rock and Roll All Night or even Let Me Go Rock and Roll for a period of time, right?
Hmm.
Most of the shows, especially the last 20, 25 years, Gene gets the final song. No doubt
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely.
But I just want to clarify that. I
Absolutely.
don't want people to type in and say, do you know that for 237 shows in the 70s, Kiss
Right.
closed with Black Diamond? Yes, of course we did.
We know
Yes.
that. We know
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So it's a good point you make, but just so we don't forget where I was leaving off at,
yeah.
as far as like being, emotional or whatever at the end of that show, I think knowing that there's a cruise and that they're playing together and we're going to see footage of it. So even if you're not going to be able to go to the show, there's going to be somebody who will probably be at the cruise, and we'll probably be able to see that, and knowing that that's going to be out in the universe. If we didn't know that there was going to definitely be a cruise, and yeah, I think there could be other opportunities for Kiss to perform, maybe a one-off Vegas thing. Yeah, it's not a
Yep.
tour thing. Um, I don't know. I mean, I really do feel like I'm not feeling as sentimental because of all that.
Right.
If
Yep.
that's the right word for it.
Yep. No,
Certainly,
I agree.
certainly it's a reality. Like, yeah, this thing is Kiss's concert based on age. And look, even if they do a Vegas thing or whatever they're going to do, is it going to be in full makeup? Are they
Right.
going to want to put those costumes on when they're 75, when they're 80? I mean, we know there's definitely, I'm going to say, based on how old's the oldest member of the band right now
I
at this
think
point?
Gene is 74, I think.
Right. So there's like a +5, I'm going to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss +5. I think there's a 5-year plus period where there's a definite cutoff of possibility of putting. Now, look, listen, Gene at 85 could put the outfit on for shits and giggles. Who the hell knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We never know with this band. This band has always gone past boundaries, and
Yes.
that's why we've loved the band for so many years. A lot of casual fans or non-fans roll their eyes. Oh, the money machine. Oh, I guess it's,
Of course.
it's like, but it's the reason why they're in the position they are in, and how they were able to regain. I mean, think about mid to late 80s, how their position financially was,
True.
and they were fortunate enough that they were able to go back on an investment. And and when I say an investment, is that early in their career they decided to be, as Paul said, 9 zillion times the band that he never saw, right?
Yep.
So they were able to have their good fortune based on that.
Yeah.
And I would never take anything away from them for that.
I agree, but I do agree with you what you said before, that knowing that there probably will be some type of shows 2024 and beyond, even if it's just like 1 or 2 a year, does change a little bit the feeling of, December 1st, December 2nd at the Garden for me. It does.
Mhm.
Saying that, I do believe that at this point, when they walk off the stage from those Garden shows, 99.5% of what Kiss will accomplish in their career will be behind them. Maybe 99.99%, right?
Well,
I think we're talking about a handful of shows in the future, pops up here one, pops up there one. I don't think there's going to be even 20, 50 shows in a year.
so here's the big difference maker there.
Yeah.
If the last 1 or 2 shows, because maybe they do it for both, that Peter and Ace are there, because probably most likely anything they do, they're not going to be on the cruise. They're not going to be,
Of
doing
course.
these one-offs. That would make it obviously something that would raise the significance of that. I mean, it's significant, but that emotional, sentimental, being there, seeing, the 4 original members on that stage,
Yep.
for the last time. The thing logistically I think about that is, you know, is Peter and Ace going to go through the trouble to put on the makeup and the outfits for
Right.
1 or 2 shows?
Mhm.
Again, it's probably based on this.
Of course.
If Kiss says, "Listen, we'll give you X amount dollars more makeup," I'm sure they'd be willing to do it.
Yep.
But that's going to be an interesting factor of this whole thing. I think and what I really don't want, and I just hope this doesn't happen,
Mhm.
is the barbs going back and forth. God forbid whatever happens, and
Right.
oh, we reached out to them and they just wanted too much, and then Ace starts saying this. I don't want
Agreed.
this last year or however many months up
Yep.
leading. What is it?
9 months.
9 months
Mhm.
that it gets spurled.
Agreed.
By
100% agree.
I don't want to have any drama. I don't want. I
I've never
just
even
don't
thought
hope.
about that, but you're right. The next
Yeah,
9 months could turn into drama fest.
yeah, and I really, diehard Kiss fans don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
We
Agreed.
don't want to hear it, and we know that it easily, gets to that sometimes with these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to blame anyone more than the others. They've
No, they're
all,
all four to blame.
yeah,
All four to blame. Yeah, no, I
yeah,
agree. And I hope that doesn't come to that. Um, I'll say this, there probably will be shows 2024 cruise and whatever, but I personally feel good. And I've said this to you before. I personally feel good with making the end of this year the end of me going to see Kiss in concert. And I know some people can say, no way, Mike, if they play next year, you're going to go. And I'll say, as I sit here today, March 1st, I'm okay with saying December 2nd will be my last Kiss concert I ever attend to. If they end up doing something, quote unquote, in my backyard, might I go in 2024 or 25? Yeah,
mm,
maybe. But
yeah.
I travel, cruise, all that stuff. I think I'm ready to kind of close that chapter and feel at peace with it. I don't know how you feel on December
Well,
2nd you walk out. How you feel?
I'm going to put this to you because it's going to be the last 2 shows,
Yep.
and because you've gone to so many, you only missed 1 Kiss cruise, as far as I can remember, right?
Yep. Yep.
Where are you weighing right now, as far as thinking about a cruise for the following year?
I would
No,
say right
knowing that you
now.
can see the band again.
Yep. Yep. I would say I feel like I am 90% out for a cruise
Okay.
next year. And I say that for a few reasons. Number one, my family deserves different vacations.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, like you said, I've been on 10 of them. It's time to do something different. Number three, they're going to play, supposedly, the rumor is they're going to play only the Sail Away show, no makeup and nothing else. And the Sail Away show for the last few years, they've been playing an hour. So go on this big vacation to see them perform for an hour. I'm not sure that it's worth it. I'll tell you the biggest draw to me of a Kiss cruise, if all the rumors are true, is hearing that potentially Gene Simmons might do a couple of solo shows on the boat.
Hmm.
That to me, that's one of the things I look forward to if this really is the end of Kiss tour. And Gene, if he goes back to touring as a solo artist, those shows he did, whatever it was now, 4 or 5 years ago, were phenomenal. There was some of my favorite Kiss live concert related experiences ever. Every night was a different set list. Every night you were getting deep cuts. That to me is exciting. So if he was going to be on a cruise performing, that would be like, ooh, I'd be disappointed to miss the Gene songs. The Kiss show, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah. So if they say Gene does his solo thing, they get Ace to go on there to do his solo thing. You got Bruce doing his solo thing, and I'm just throwing like an '80s,
Yep.
like a Doc and whoever,
Uh-huh.
of that level. Like
Right.
now, where does your 90% not going go to?
If they had all the different members on the boat performing solo, it goes up to 40%, 50% now.
Not going or going? Or
Well, 50, I'll put it at 50. So it's a 50-50.
Fitty.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
now you're talking about 4 days at sea, 5 days at sea, whatever it is, with a whole bunch of Kiss related concerts. So that's different to me than, hey, Kiss is going to be on the boat. They're going to perform at the sail away. Then Gene will do some solo shows, which, like I just said, would be great. The Stanley Soul Station thing, I have zero interest in that. Yeah. The only time I'd probably ever see that is if I was on a boat and he was doing it, and I would say, all right, well, I paid for the cruise,
So
or
you wouldn't.
if you drag my ass to one.
All right. So I was gonna say if they were doing one at what's the place by you?
The
With your
Paramount.
daughter, Paramount. Yeah. So
Yep.
so if I wasn't going and because I certainly would,
Right.
so for the record, you wouldn't go to see that in your backyard.
If you weren't going for some reason, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. It just doesn't interest me. And it's not even just that it's the type of music he's doing, which by and large doesn't interest me. If he was going to go and play a show of 15 songs and he was doing all 60s and early 70s covers, Led Zeppelin, I wouldn't be overly interested in that either. I'm not there to see Stanley do an hour and a half of cover tunes. It just doesn't appeal to. I don't mind one or two cover tunes in a set list, but seeing him do a whole bunch of covers doesn't appeal to me a whole lot.
And I'm gonna just throw this out to you, even though this will never happen. Okay. What if Stanley's doing a bunch of cover tunes, but he's doing the Origins album with Ace Frehley as his band?
So Ace is performing with Paul.
Paul's the singer for Ace's, yeah.
Yeah, that I'd have to have a little bit more interest in.
Would you be a little bit more interested? You wouldn't. That's not a definite yes. Paul is the lead singer of Ace's band, doing whatever.
All these cover tunes.
Origin types, yeah. I can't believe you're even thinking about this.
Yeah, look, I'm sure I would go to that. I'm sure. Yeah. You have Paul and Ace performing together. I've never, they've never done, to my knowledge, off the top of my head, they've never done anything together on stage, just the two of them. Yeah.
Except for the video.
Right, except for the video, right. Yeah, but that would probably interest me much, much more than the first two scenarios I put out there. Okay. But like you said, that's never going to happen. So I don't even have to think about that one.
I heard Ace Frehley's going on Howard Stern next week to make an announcement. It might be. No, just kidding. That's not happening.
Oh man, don't get people worked up. What Ace is going to be on Howard Stern? No, definitely not. I'm interested to see what comes of after this year. I'm going to guess we're going to end up with more product coming out. Obviously, we have the soundboard stuff and some of the box sets. I'm hoping they open up the archives and we start to get a flood of stuff now that there won't be a touring entity. So that to me will be in some ways more exciting than going to see the 16th, 17th, and 18th show of this tour for myself.
Right.
But I guess only time will tell with that.
Only time will tell.
You like that bass line?
That's really accurate.
Oh man.
Period correct.
I put that bass line in everything. Oh man.
Yeah.
One of the things, like I said, I did listen to some, not all of the Howard Stern thing yet. One of the things I liked on it, Howard asked Paul and Gene, what's the biggest regret you've had in your career? And Paul was very quick to say the way they handled the whole Eric Carr thing, which, which I know a lot of fans give them, and especially Paul, a lot of crap over. And, Paul was like, I look back on that And in hindsight, this was somebody I never thought was going to die. I knew he was sick. I know he had a rare form of cancer, but you just don't think at that age somebody's going to die. He's like, if I could have a do-over on that, that's probably the one thing in my career I'd want to do over on.
Well, well,
I was
give him
like,
credit for that, because
yeah,
especially for Paul, who doesn't seems to have a hard time with history,
yes,
and dealing with certain things or whatever.
yep.
Well, kudos to him for that one.
Yeah. Now I wonder if in these final shows, obviously Eric is no longer with us. We mentioned Ace, we mentioned Peter. I would love for them to have some kind of like video montage that kind of pays tribute to Eric Carr, just a little bit.
Well, I think we talked about this on one of the
Yep.
probably a while ago, honoring even a Mark St. John at some point during the show. You do a little instrumental montage or something.
Yep.
Vinny too. I mean, yeah, like all the stuff that went on with Vinny. He's still a huge part of their history and resurgence. So I think it should be acknowledged, and I think the fans would love to see. I mean, I think there is a part of when what song is it where they're doing some old footage, and I think do you see Vinny for like 1 second
Yeah.
or
Yeah. I
a half
think
a
he does.
second?
I think he pops up on the screen for like a half a second or something like
Right. I
that.
mean, they didn't totally leave him out. I do remember that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I've seen other bands do this, and I've seen them do it really well.
Right.
So who knows now if they're going to do anything different, for the last two,
Yeah.
or maybe this last leg of that tour, they do it.
Yeah. Look, what I'm
It's an
about to
opportunity.
say, I would never in a gazillion years expect Kiss to do, but kind of seeing what the Ace Frehley band has done on his recent set list, to me would be really cool if during the show they did like a minute and a half version of Escape from the Island. Eric Carr has a co-write on it. It's instrumental, and they just flash on the screen. Eric Carr, like you said, they could put up there Mark St. John, and just like a little montage of those guys. You don't have to do it for a minute or whatever. You could do the little drum breakdown, like in tribute to Eric. I know it's never going to happen. I know it, but you don't have to do the full song. It's an instrumental. It's a minute. You kind of put them up on the screen, and it doesn't really change the show. I would love to see something like that. I know the odds of this one is 1,000,000 to 1.
2-1. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to me, that would be something cool to do. Let me ask you this: opening act for those final shows. Do you even want one? Forget the painter for a moment. Do you even want an opening act those nights?
I mean, it's always nice to have an opening act that's someone who we like. I mean, I would not want one. I mean, if you're going to pay for a concert ticket and you're going to hear another band, I don't see there any reason why not to have it, other than it's cutting to the time of their show. I
Right.
mean,
So what if instead of an opening act, I'm thinking when I saw them on New Year's Eve, 96, 97, before Kiss went on stage, they did like a 20 or 30-minute video, which was like a history of the band up until that point. What if instead of an opening act, they did like a 20 or 30-minute video up on the screen celebrating the legacy of the band? That finishes at 8:30, and then Kiss comes on and does a 2.5 hour set.
that's tough. I mean, I would like it to be some footage that we've never seen before.
Mhm.
Would make it more interesting. Although, being in that spot and that's the setup for the show, the anticipation would be a nice build.
Anticipation.
Anticipation. Yeah. Yeah. Here's where we get in the comments. Guys, stop singing.
Yeah,
And it all
especially you,
started with
Brun.
me.
Especially you, Brun.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't do much better with I think Sinatra's rolling over in his grave after I started that. But
Man.
yeah. Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that would be cool to start the show. But again, who's the opening act? If you got somebody who I really love, and it's basically all footage you've seen so many times, I don't know.
Right.
That's a tough one. It's a
I
tough one.
think for me, those last two shows, I would want it to be only about Kiss. I
Mm,
don't want to see an unknown opening act on the stage. Yes, unlike when we saw Dave was great, and I'd be excited if it was Dave, let's just say again, but that's not going to happen. But if it was like a Skid Row or a Dokken, like you mentioned before, I love those bands. I want that night to be about Kiss. I don't
yeah, I
care
see
if
your
I'm
point
hearing
there.
those other bands,
Yeah, I see your
even if
point
it's a band,
there.
if it was Night Ranger, and I love Night Ranger, I'd be like, all right, guys, come on, get off the
Or,
stage. Come on, get
or
off.
you, or even a New York Ranger, which happens to still
Oh,
be in the arena
that's
from
right.
the.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so for me, I
yeah,
want those nights to strictly be about Kiss. Now, if you said Bruce Kulick and his band was going to open up, all right, different story now, right? Because now he's going to be doing Kiss songs that Kiss won't do. That I'd be thoroughly thrown over. But another band playing their songs doesn't
yeah.
interest me those nights.
A fair point.
Yeah,
I think I would tend to agree with you on that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the 2 nights at the Garden, right? We haven't even spoke about this, you and I, yet, because it was just announced in the last hour. Will you go to both nights?
Well, this is going to really be depending on the pricing and
Uh-huh.
my feeling going into it, knowing what I think it's going to cost.
Mhm.
I'd be just happy going to the last night.
Okay.
I mean, that's just me.
What if you can't, for financial reasons, let's just say the tickets
Well,
skyrocket out of control, right? Would you be satisfied going to the second to last show?
well, first of all, a millionaire sees no limits. Okay,
Okay.
so that's not even. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh,
Say that again. I was so working up to what I was going to say to
that's
get
right.
my God.
If you financially tickets skyrocket out of control for the last show and you say, you know what, I
Mm,
don't want to spend that money, even though I'm a
yeah,
millionaire, I don't want to spend that money on the last show.
right.
Are you satisfied going only to the second to last show at the Garden?
Ooh, good one. That's a good one. I think it's really going to depend on like what the difference in price is. You know,
Hmm.
what am I quarreling over to
Right,
myself?
right,
A
right.
hundred, $200, or we're talking thousand
Thousands, right.
plus dollars, you know?
Hmm.
I think it really depends on that,
Yep.
you
I can
know?
understand. I can understand. Do you think
So,
that they're going to do any kind of streaming event with this?
well, I was just about to get to that. I was
Go
like
ahead.
thinking, because I've spoken to some Kiss fans saying, what if the last show is a pay-per-view? Would you be satisfied visually seeing? They're like, no, I gotta be in the house. I gotta be in
Right.
the house. Again, for me, it's really dependent on what these prices are going to be. I would have some sort of level of satisfaction if either I can't get the ticket for whatever reason,
Right.
and or it's just just an obscene amount of money to just go. Which, I mean, look, how is this all going to work? We don't know what they're going to set the prices, or how we all know that. I mean, I think a lot of people hate Ticketmaster and what they do and their policies, and the shenanigans,
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to
and
pause you for a second. Did I tell you about the Brett Michaels Night Ranger tickets that I purchased this summer? When you
were
talk
those the
about
ones you got
Ticketmaster?
for, is that the one that you paid more in fees for the ticket?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
The
ticket was
face
like,
value of the ticket was 1950, which I don't understand how it's that cheap, and then the Ticketmaster fees were $22. I'm like, what
yeah,
the hell, man?
yeah. And you know, in that particular case, not to defend Ticketmaster, that's like obscenely low for a ticket price. I don't even know why it's that, which is great, you know what I
Uh,
mean? But I think because
and
of that,
and I'm not on the lawn. I've got a seat in the
that's crazy. I
amphitheater.
know.
I
I
don't
know.
understand how
Yeah.
1950 for Brett Michaels, Night Ranger, and a couple of other acts that night. But the point being that the Ticketmaster fees were more than the actual ticket
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
which is friggin'
Doesn't
egregious.
surprise me. Yeah, it doesn't
Egregious.
surprise me.
But anyway, I cut you off just to kind of add that in there. You were talking
Yeah.
about Ticketmaster.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That's interesting though.
yeah,
I think I know where you weigh in on this one.
yeah, you know, I can't imagine sitting on my couch watching it live when it's 25 miles from my house.
Yeah.
You know, if the show was in Australia or Tokyo, yeah, of course, I can envision sitting on the couch instead of paying thousands of dollars just to fly there.
And
When I could almost walk to the Garden because it's so close. Not
well,
really, but it's 20 miles. Yeah.
and I also think, and not to, this has nothing to do. Well, I'm not sure to say nothing to do, but it's like financial. Uh, I don't even know what it's called. Like, well, what I'm trying to say is that you've paid more money for certain experiences that
Yes.
I have my limits. Like, just
Right.
look on your wall right there. You have those cruise guitars. You know, I've
Yep.
gone on the cruise, and yeah, it would be nice to own that, but it really didn't. I just wasn't going to spend that kind of money for. I
Right.
mean, I think it's cool, like that the Stanley acoustic there that you have is stage played
Yep.
and stuff like that. I think that's awesome, and I know you have a bunch of basses and of the same, and I think you have
Yep.
another acoustic guitar
Yeah, it's
because
on the other side over there.
someone really cool like set that all up for you, and
Yeah, I don't know who that was. Some guy
yeah,
that came over, had to give him the
yeah,
London Burl or something.
yeah, and burnt corn.
And burnt corn. That's right. Oh man, that was a
Yeah,
good.
that was a great day.
Uh,
But and it really all depends, So I don't know. The thing about Kiss, again, just a little bit of a side. We always talk about when we were younger and accessibility. that Rich show that we went to,
Yep.
that infamous Rich show that we stood online from like early in the morning,
Yep.
till the time, and we saw Gene come out with the white. He was wearing a white suit, and
I remember.
that
Yeah.
back in the day was like as close as getting to Gene Simmons, and we weren't even. We were close. I don't know how many. We were on a line of maybe we were like the 25th people online, and
Yep.
so however many people that is, we saw him going into the entrance, right?
Yep.
Um, and now you have the opportunities to do these things like vaults, and whether Stanley does his art thing or cruises, or
The
now Gene's
Abbey
doing the
Road.
Abbey Road. Yeah, Gene's doing this, which I think is really cool. This Abbey
Mhm.
Road Studios thing,
Yep.
Um,
I'm
I
half
think,
waiting for you to text me one morning. I booked the Abbey Road thing. I'm going.
yeah. Well, it's, I told you we talked about this yesterday, I think,
Mhm.
and I just said I just think that I'm not gonna say it's a bargain, but I
Right.
don't think they're like over. There was something. I mean, look, they were charging. What was he charging for one? His sword, his fire breathing swords, like
I think it was like
12,000.
$12,000. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's on the stage and he's breathing fire through it, but to me, that's egregious. You know what I
Right.
mean? To spend an entire day with Gene Simmons in Abbey Road Studios and do a recording with him, whatever they're going to record, for $6,000. To me, you're getting much more for your money than
And for
things.
you, it's the Kiss angle. It's also the Beatles angle.
I have absolutely,
Right.
and
So it's a
the thing,
win-win for you.
right? And the thing about, and not that I'm gonna go off on this sword, thing, but however many tours, that's how many swords they have. So it's not like
Right.
it's a one of a kind, but it's not like the only time
Right.
you had this opportunity. There's probably however many. I don't even know how
At
many of those
least a few
sold.
hundred of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know
And
how
if
many
they,
sold, but they were offering
yeah,
them for every night of the end of the road tour, as far as I
yeah.
know.
I would tend to think that was probably the least seller as opposed to the guitars and stuff like that on the stage.
Yeah, yeah, probably in terms of stage use stuff,
Yeah,
probably. But
yeah,
for all I know, they're keeping them in the warehouse, and a year from now, they have them
yeah,
50% off, and they fly off the shelves. So who
yeah.
knows?
Right,
Who
right.
knows? Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree with you. To me, the Abbey Road thing, you're getting a whole experience, and that's to me with these final shows. That's part of it. It's the experience, and that's where I say, look, I don't want to spend an egregious amount of money on these tickets. I also don't want to take it out of my retirement fund, but
right.
I would rather, I hate to say this, sell one of the guitars that are on the wall behind me and go to the show than have that guitar sitting there and me not go to the show, if that
Right.
makes sense.
That acoustic you have right back there, you would sell that guitar to go to the show?
I have two of them here. The one right behind me is from Kiss Cruise 7, and Stanley played that on the song See You Tonight on the Sail Away show. The one over here is from Kiss Cruise 8, and he played that one when they did New York Groove with Ace Frehley. The New York Groove one, I probably would never sell in my life, because to me, that's just so damn cool. It's the only time they played New York Groove acoustic. It's the last time as of now they played with Ace Frehley, and I own the guitar Stanley played for that. So that to me probably wouldn't go anywhere. The other one, if it meant going to the show, yeah, I might sell that one.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because,
Hmm.
again, as I've gotten older, it's about collecting memories and experiences. Now, that guitar is part of a memory for me. But if that was the only way for me to afford going to that December 2nd show, I'd probably take that guitar off the wall, sell it, and say, I'm happy that I'm going on December 2nd. And, for
Yeah.
me, this is the part that scares me. I'm sure my wife's going to want to go. My daughter's going to want to go. My son might not be back from college yet. Interesting. But my point being that my family might want to go. So whatever the ticket prices is, I'm paying that times 4 probably.
Mm,
That's
mm,
going to be freaking egregious.
yeah. And Kathy Lee.
And Kathy Lee, exactly. Oh man.
Yeah.
So, that's the part where I'm like, Jim, I have to sell both guitars. Who knows?
Mm,
But
yeah.
we'll see. I think tickets, from what I'm seeing, they didn't announce it, at least from what I heard on the parts I listened to. They didn't announce when tickets were going on sale, but I did go on Ticketmaster, and I saw at least the Knoxville, Tennessee show was already on Ticketmaster, which is like 2 weeks before the Garden, and the on sale date was sometime next week.
So let me ask this question. This
Yeah.
is a totally fantasy,
It's just
you
a fantasy.
whoa, you have to buy that 4 ticket. It involves getting one for your wife, and if you don't get it, it's a divorce,
Uh-huh.
right? And the only way you can get that ticket is to sell the Kiss pinball machine. Would you do it?
Yeah, because I could buy another pinball machine in a few years.
That was quick. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be
Yeah.
sad to
Okay.
let the pinball machine go, but I could buy another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
But it'll
That
be
was
interesting, like my family, will they be satisfied maybe just going to the December 1st show and not the last one?
I'm gonna tend to think probably yes, just knowing, well, maybe your daughter, no.
My daughter, no. My son gets like, oh, I want to go on the final cruise they ever do. Like he gets like that. He gets excited to say he was at like a final thing. So
Mhm.
I think my wife will be like, whatever. I've
Right.
seen them a few times on this tour already with you. I don't care. Whatever day you get me tickets for.
Yeah.
But you'll also say, well, one of our friends going to go. I want to go when they're going to be
Well,
there.
that's yeah, exactly, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, and I had
yeah.
people message me like instantly. They made the announcement, and people like, "Hey, Mike, you live in New York. You should coordinate and organize something for the final show. Like we could all meet someplace, hang out at a bar." And I'm just like, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds like work. If it sounds like fun, I hope somebody else does that. But
Right,
that sounds like a
right.
lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of parties in New York that weekend with the bunch of Kiss fans from around the world. So
Mhm.
I'll hop on maybe one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Will you? So the second to last show is the Friday. Would you take off of work on the Friday if you heard that there's like these gatherings and go gather with other Kiss fans to celebrate the finality of this?
What the hell's work?
Okay, I like that answer. I
Work.
like that answer.
Yeah,
Good. So it sounds like yes, yeah. Because I would do something like that.
yeah,
I would definitely do something like that.
yeah.
Excellent. I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth talking about with these final shows. I'll say this
Mm,
for people maybe who haven't seen yet. They did announce, I think, somewhere between 17 and 20 shows. I know it starts in Austin, Texas. I mentioned before. They're going to Los Angeles. I know there's a handful of shows in Canada, which I know a lot of the Canadian fans have been like, hey, don't forget about us. So there is a bunch of shows that they have announced in Canada as well before they come
mm,
back East Coast. I think right before New York, if I remember right, I think they're going to be in Baltimore and then New York.
okay.
So it's only like 20 shows. The rumors were there were going to be about 50 shows this year with the ones they already have on the schedule for Europe. There's about 25, 30 shows. And these 20, it puts them right at that 50 number. So I really don't think there's going to be any significant number of shows added beyond what they just announced today. It'll
Mhm.
be interesting if these two Garden shows sell very quickly. I do think there's a day off between Baltimore and New York. Would they add a third New York date?
Yeah, I'm looking at the dates now. Winnipeg, Canada, Toronto, Knoxville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Illinois, Baltimore, Massachusetts. Yeah. Pre-sale. So if you go to pre-sale for Ticketmaster, there's already a link.
Oh, really?
4 days, 22 hours, 47 minutes, 38 seconds.
Okay. Until the pre-sale.
So general public are 8 days away. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they're doing the
Yep.
pre-sale first, which is not a surprise. There's
Yeah.
usually 72,000 different pre-sales. So
Yeah.
that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And usually I'm a proponent of holding off and not buying tickets when they first go on sale because Ticketmaster loves to do the dynamic pricing. They lower the price, they increase prices. These shows are not shows I'm going to sleep on and hold off on and buy. I'm going to buy
Let me
the
sleep
tickets.
on it, baby, baby.
Is that like reference number like 80 in the show?
Yeah.
And before you
Yeah.
said satisfaction, I was ready to
Baby,
but you kept talking. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I missed that one. But
Yeah.
anyway, all right. So
Yeah.
hot off the press, it sounds like the pre-sale starts in about 4 days time.
Hmm.
All righty.
About 5 days closer because 4 days, 22 hours. So it's more
Okay.
like 5 days. Yeah.
And you know me, I'm a monster, no pun intended. If they don't add any other garden shows and I say to you, hey, Vin, you want to take a ride to Baltimore?
Hmm.
Do you throw your shoe at me or do you say, yeah, let's do it?
I'm going to be opposed to it.
All right.
Yeah.
I got you
Yeah.
on record now. So I'm going to text you as soon as we hang up. Hey, Vin, you want to go to Baltimore?
Yeah, exactly.
You just said yes.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
if you respond no, I'm going to come in and do my own episode. This is a follow-up to episode
Just
230.
endless loop.
That's right.
Loop.
Vincent said no.
Yeah, yeah. I'd go. I'd go. I'd go. I'd go. I'd go.
And
That's
then
your next.
I'd go and then I text your text message. No, I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
man. Because as much as I say I'm at peace with this coming to an end and my last show's being in December, I know me, I'll be a friggin' monster leading up to it.
Well, that's what makes you a Brunn.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. All right, buddy. Anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. I think.
All right. Will you wear that Madison Square Garden shirt the night you go?
Yeah. Yeah, likely. Yeah, likely.
I gotta dig. I haven't seen mine in a while. I have to dig mine out.
Actually, I've never worn the shirt.
Really?
I actually never wore it. It's like still in its unwashed new condition because
Wow.
I think I got it and I tucked it away. So right before the show, I was upstairs, like this, trying to find it.
Uh, I think
So,
I've worn
because
mine twice.
remember, I got this. What happened that night? I couldn't get the shirt or something
Right. They
like that. I don't
sold
remember what.
out. Right. They
Yeah,
sold out.
and
And
then they had a
then
link online, and I bought
exactly,
it. So
they
I
put
was
them
all
on
stoked
sale
about that.
online for like a week or whatever it was, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very
That's how
happy I got it.
very
Very
good. Well,
stoked.
you know that they're gonna have special merchandise for these
Yeah.
last two shows also. That's the other thing. I guess I'm gonna have to get to Madison Square Garden at like 8 a.m. on those days. So that this way I can get the special merch, put it back in my car, etc. I don't want to miss out on the shirt like the way you did, or miss out on the poster or whatever it may be.
No, I have one last thing I thought about
Go ahead.
because you mentioned about that the Paul Stanley guitar played on
Mhm.
stage with Ace Frehley. Would you trade that for Gene Simmons' Animalized wig?
Oh,
The actual
uh,
wig he wore on that whole tour.
only if you wear it to the final show with the headband.
With the headband, yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
is the sweat still built in?
That probably smells real fresh.
Yeah, really. No, I think I'll keep the guitar.
Oh, it's interesting.
um,
Stage worn wig.
I can't imagine. What do I do with that raccoon? Like,
Yeah,
do I
exactly.
get like a little mannequin head and put it on?
That'd be classic. That'd be classic.
Oh man, yeah, that's
Somebody that would have been classic for the vault. Somebody opens up their vault, the little thing, and they look inside, and they pull
the
out Gene
wig.
Simmons.
Oh man, that
Yeah,
you know what? I could say this: if that was in my vault, I would have been A, entertained, and
right.
B, and I would have been happy with that. That would have been better than the LA Kiss shorts that I got in one of my vaults.
Mm,
So
yeah,
yeah, so I would not have been upset with the wig in there, but no, I'm
yeah.
not trading the guitar for the wig. Uh, oh man,
Just random thoughts that go in my head. You know,
this is what people get when they come and they watch our show, right? So,
exactly. Well, we want to entertain people,
that is true.
and I
And
also like to challenge you. You know, because I thought like, hey, maybe he'll go for this, but
no,
nope.
no, 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 no.
No.
To me, probably in my collection, that guitar that Paul played on New York Groove might be number. I'm trying to look around and see if there's something that would rank above that. That might be number one on my
Mm,
collection list, just because again, it's the only time that they did New York Groove acoustic. It's one of two times they ever played acoustic with Ace. The other one being MTV Unplugged. It's New York Groove. It's Ace's signature song, you could say. And depending on how these last 50 shows go, it could be the last time Ace was ever on stage with Kiss.
mm-hmm.
You know, I jokingly
Yeah.
say to some of my friends, I hope he doesn't join them at all on the end of the road tour because my guitar goes up in value the more he doesn't join them ever again.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
Right.
you know, so I'd be hard pressed to trade that for most things. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the pinball machine, I might trade that for the wig.
If anybody has Gene's Animalized wig, Mike is offering up a pinball machine.
That's that would be one I'd have to sit there. I probably wouldn't, but I'd have to sit there and think about that one. That would be a
Yeah.
tough decision. But because again, the wig is a one of a kind. But then you get into that. How do you know it's the real one? I don't know.
But just think about how much fun you could have with that wig. You wear it on Thanksgiving, Christmas morning. You come down with.
Wear it on Thanksgiving. That's what my family wants to see me with the wig on Thanksgiving. Oh, let me cut the turkey. Oh man. All right, we've gone off the rails here, I think, a little bit, but that's okay. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. All right, buddy. We
All
will
right.
talk. We will plan the December 1st and 2nd gathering. I'll text you in 10 minutes about Baltimore.
All right.
And
Yeah.
get ready, Kiss fans. Let us know what you guys think. Will you be going to any of the last 20 shows? If you don't live in the New York City area, do you plan on traveling in to be at those last shows? I bet you a lot of people are going to say yes. Would you be satisfied being at the Friday night and not the Saturday night? Let us know your thoughts on this whole announcement and the supposed finality that these are the final shows. And will you feel cheated if they do play a handful of shows, one-off type things next year? Lots of things that you guys can comment on. I look forward to seeing those comments. Buddy, as always, thank you for joining.
No
Thank you for
problem.
wearing the proper attire. I should have I should have done better on my side.
For once, I was out of my usual uniform of black shirt, but
That's right. That's right. You are, but well done on your part. And
thank you.
on that note, rather than ending with double Ringo, why don't we end with
Oh yeah.
all righty, later, everybody.
Later.
Alrighty, there you have it. Kiss's announcement today about the final shows of the End of the Road tour taking place at Madison Square Garden, December 1st and December 2nd. As my cousin just texted me, she said, Mike, I know where you'll be on those days. Do you plan on attending those shows as well? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about today's announcement. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.